Today on the Dutch Garage I'm going to show you how you can transform your strut to a fully custom coilover setup. Do you also have a car that there is absolutely no aftermarket for it, or the aftermarket is very little, like my Toyota Corolla? There is almost nothing I can get for it. I'm glad if I can get some oil filters and maybe some spark plugs, but coilovers? No fucking way. So I'm going to show you, if you're in a situation like I was, how to make your own coilover kit. What I'm going to do, I will show you how you're going to measure it, the things you have to take in consideration before cutting up your old shocks, because the spindle and the shock is in this case one. The older style cars is this very common, at least the Japanese cars is it very common. So also BMW guys know this issue. I will show you what I do, because it is indeed fully adjustable. It's not just welded on a thread and then your only thing that you can adjust is the spring height. You can fully adjust this shock, also the preload on the spring, and I also adapted the camber plates. Of course, I just have made some holes now, but I think I'm going to remake the whole top piece. But if that's so, that's probably for another video, because this is for my application right now. This is just fine. What I most of the time use for this kind of modification is welding tube or pipe fittings. I don't know what it's called exactly, but in this case I used these guys. These are very thick walled, very beefy. You don't need this kind of beefiness, but it's easy to weld. It's most of the time very easy to get, and in my case this is exactly the diameter I need, because this is the stock spring perch. And what we are going to do is we are going to cut everything off. The original tube is there, and if everything is off, and as you can see, this just fits perfect. I'm going to convert this camber plates to the car. The bolts are not matching up, they're just a little bit off, maybe half a centimeter around, so this one is half a centimeter off. So what I could do is I could elongate the holes to make them fit, but that is not what I'm going to do, because I already checked. This notch here is not going to fit beneath the car, or I have to modify the inner piece here, but I'm not going to do that. Of course, I'm going to destroy this camber plate, but oh well, now it's not going to fit. Then it does going to fit, and I'm just going to drill holes around and then make some clearance of the clearance issues I'm going to resolve by cutting some of this plate away. If I align the camber plate with the holes how it sits now, and I'm going to adjust the camber, I definitely know that I'm getting more, that the caster is going to be more to the zero or even negative, because it's going to push the shock that way, so to the front of the car instead of to the rear. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it clockwise. How much exactly? Well, I'm going to eyeball it. I know that's not the best way you want to do with this, but because it is a total conversion from two cars, I need to have a starting point. So I don't mind destroying this top plate, because if I know this is going to work, I'm going to make a new top plate for it. Until then, I'm just going to, well, drill some holes in it. And maybe, and is it safe to drive with it? Of course, if you have enough meat around the studs, then you're totally fine, so don't worry about that. Have some drawbacks. Yeah, you have some little bit more heavy steering. Well, I do not care, and but the car wants to go straight better, so that's a positive. And also when you go into corners, you get automatically a little bit more camber in the corner, so that's also a big plus. So what are we going to do now? I'm going to remove the stock head. So I'm going to raise the car, remove the old one. Stock plates. What I'm now going to do is I'm going to remove these studs. So you align the socket with the other side, and just to be safe, just put a nut on it so you don't damage the thread. Then of course you have to drop the socket, or else it won't work. And just push them out like so. I made some marks there and there. There is where I'm going to drill the new studs. I'm going to use not the big studs, but the studs that came original with the car, so these are much smaller. And just to double check if everything is, well, at least centered and going to fit when I see that I'm a bit off there. This is what I made of it. I pushed in the new studs, drilled the holes, pushed in the new studs. I just had some clearancing issues on this side, so I just cut that off, and well, let's see how it fits. Okay, let's see if I can show you the full range. Well, this is the center, so this is where it normal should be. If I go positive max, is this is positive max, and if I go full negative, also notice that this isn't the right height I want right now, but well, as you can see, we've got a lot of movement down there, dus well, I'm happy. So yeah, up to the next job. Let's hope it's I'm right and the thing is not going to well, fly off. that wasn't that bad. Okay, before we go any further, we're going to install it back on the car with at least a brake rotor on it, with a wheel, and we're going to measure the ideal ride height so we can calculate how far we need to shorten this one up. I've got the tire after the strut put back in, just snug it up, and I've put the tire on. I'm going to empty these shocks. In this case I need to unscrew the nut, take the whole thing out, drop the oil into a pan, because well, these are the original, these are not inserts. So now the shock is empty. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to, well, I think cut it around here. It doesn't matter that much because we need to shorten it. That's one thing for certain. And most of the time, if you just do it in half, then we can take some measurements. You can do it with a flex. You don't have to be precise. You can do a angle grinder or a bandsaw if you have one of those, or maybe even a normal hacksaw. So there you have it. It is all smooth now. Of course we are going to remove the paint all the way around, but for now this is okay. After you cut down your shock, then you have to mount it onto the car. Every car will be different, but what I did is I bolted it all down, check the height without the spring. I checked the height of the wheel and decided that this is the right height I want to get. So what I then did was I got my tubes and just take some measurements. As you can see, I am now a little bit low. I wanted it at about to be center, like so I have enough room to, well, move it up or move it down if I want to adjust it a bit, maybe for the future, or maybe track days, or, well, you never know. So, but why I decided to keep it like this is one thing: the spring is now not compressed. If the full weight of the car is on the ground, the spring will compress. And so I calculated about 2.5 to 3 centimeters for it to sag. So then I'm about roughly into the middle. So this is my setup. But if this isn't high enough, then of course you need to add a spacer. And if this is too high, then of course you can cut something off the bottom. But that is something you have to decide for yourself. So this is for me the best setup. I cut the whole tube off until the base. I flattened it with a one of these flat discs, so it's nice and smooth. But as you can see, there is a lot of tar, anti-corrosive material on the outside and other shit. So we have to remove that before welding. So what I'm going to do is use a wire wheel to brush it off as good as I can, and after that I'm throwing it in the sand in the blast cabinet. Ow! Ah, he bit me. Bastard. Well, I just sandblasted the face a little bit. It's not perfect yet, but that's not necessary for welding. At least the surface I'm going to weld is clean now. I'm going to sandblast the whole strut when it's finished. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to clean, of course, both surfaces of this powder coat. Then I'm going to chamfer one edge, because we're going to weld that. So, and also I'm going to chamfer both ends on this tube. And for chamfering I'm going to use a flap wheel. What I'm going to do now is tack these together and then weld them all the way around, and after that we're going to put it on the spindle. Oh yeah. It doesn't work that well if you don't ground it. Of course you don't want your strut to be crooked. so you need to be sure that it's straight on the spindle. What I use for that is one of these digital gauges. So what I do here is set it on top of the spindle, and then I place it to the side on a flat surface. And then make sure it is at 90 degrees, or at least as close as possible. So that's good enough. I already did measure the camber on the stock strut, and the stock strut is, if this one is 0, of course you need to make sure that your surfaces are clean. So if I 0 this out, then this should be 5 degrees. So we're not dead off. So I'm going to tack weld it on the front first, and then I'm going to tack weld on the other side and recheck my measurements. If you want some more camber, then you have to lean it this way. So in this case you have to have less than 5 degrees. So if I did want more camber, I maybe go to 4 or 3 or maybe even 0 degrees. If I do it at 5 degrees as is stock, then I do know that I will get a good alignment. And also I have some camber plates to adjust it accordingly. But if you really want some more aggressive camber, then this is the time to get it. That shit happens all the time. So we've got to start all over again now. We can start welding. So put on your helmet and hopefully the blinding is working, because well, I think I'm going to burn out my rack now. So crappy thingy. It's not doing anything. That's crap. I'm not the best welder, but I will promise you that one is going to weld. Don't forget to remove these retaining brackets for your brake hose. As you can see, these are spot welded into place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill this out. Then I already got the holes for, well, welding it. That's one. Now we are going to install these brake line, well, brackets. I blasted them so it's clean and easier to weld. Normally these brackets are sitting in front of the strut like so, but because well, as you have seen, the wheels are much wider, So I decided to move it to the rear, and so I definitely do know that I won't tear up, that the wheels won't tear up the brake lines. That will be very bad. But yeah, braking is for pussies, so why install brakes at all? Yeah? That's a question for you. Be sure when you weld the bracket onto the threaded piece, be sure you don't weld through it, because you cannot screw the insert back in. So that will be a pain. What I did, I welded on the welding seam, so it will be fine. Well, after sandblasting, this is the final result of our hard work. And what I'm going to do now is just paint it, but I'm going to powder coat it. Okay guys, there you have it. How to convert your old strut to a fully adjustable coilover set. As you have seen, it isn't that difficult. Just to be sure that you weld it on straight. Straight is key here. Normally you will say measure twice, cut once, but in this case measure twice and weld once. Else you have to cut it again. I'm really happy with them. The only problem of course is this is just only the front. In the back it will be another story. That just won't be very easy. I just don't have any room to fit the spring and the shock into the place where the shock used to be. So first of all I need to convert it to a 4-link suspension, and then I need to figure out a way to mount, the coilovers. I really want to thank you guys for watching, and if you like this video, please like this video. If you have any questions at all, please leave a comment. And if you want to follow me around, you know what to do, and I will see you next time. Bye.